Logan Hayes never expected to find her there, a woman in $1,000 coat, soaked through and trembling on his porch at midnight. She didn't knock. She just stood there, watching the door like it was the only thing between her and something worse. When their eyes met through the glass, he saw it. The kind of fear money can't fix. Upstairs, his daughter slept. Outside, thunder cracked like a warning. He should have called the cops, should have turned her away. But something in her face stopped him. So he opened the door, and everything after that became a fight he never asked for. Welcome to this story. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this one travels. And if it pulls you in, hit that like button and stick around until the end. Part 1. The rain came down hard enough to strip paint. Logan Hayes stood in his kitchen, still wearing his work boots, still smelling like sawdust and sweat from a 12-hour shift framing houses in weather that had no business being this vicious in October. His phone buzzed on the counter, a text from his ex-wife's lawyer about the custody hearing next month. He didn't open it. He'd read enough of those to know they all said the same thing in different words. You're not enough. He poured himself water from the tap, drank it standing up, and listened to the house settle around him. Mia was asleep upstairs. 7 years old, small for her age, with his dark hair and his mother's stubborn chin. She'd fallen asleep on the couch watching some cartoon about talking animals, and he'd carried her up around 9. She still smelled like the strawberry shampoo she insisted on using even though it made her hair impossible to brush. The storm rattled the windows. Logan set the glass down and rubbed his face with both hands, trying to pull himself into something resembling alertness. He had to be up in 6 hours. Another site. Another project manager who'd change his mind 3 times before lunch. Another day of keeping his head down and his mouth shut because he couldn't afford to lose this job. Not with the hearing coming. Not with Rachel's lawyer already painting him as unstable. He was halfway to the stairs when he saw her. At first, he thought it was a shadow, some trick of the porch light filtering through the rain. But then lightning flashed, and he saw her clearly, a woman standing on his porch, not knocking, not moving, just there. She wore a long coat that might have been expensive once, but now it clung to her like she'd been dragged through a river. Her hair was plastered to her face. She wasn't looking at the door. She was looking through it, at him. Logan's first instinct was to step back. His second was to reach for his phone. But something about the way she stood there, shoulders squared despite the shaking, chin up despite the fear in her eyes, made him hesitate. He moved to the door, unlocked it, opened it just enough to speak through the gap. You lost? Her voice came out steady, which surprised him. I need help. There's a gas station 2 miles that way. He pointed south toward the main road. They've got a phone. I can't go there. Then call someone. I can't do that either. Logan studied her through the crack in the door. Mid-30s, maybe. Pale skin, sharp features, eyes that looked like they'd been crying but weren't anymore. No visible injuries, no signs of a car wreck or a mugging. Just fear, worn on her face like a second skin. Who's after you? She flinched. Not much, but enough. How did you... You're standing in the rain instead of knocking. You're watching the street more than you're watching me. And you just said you can't go anywhere or call anyone. He kept his voice level. So either you're running from someone or you're here to cause trouble. And I've got a kid upstairs, so I need to know which one it is. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, I'm not here to hurt anyone. That's not an answer. I know. The rain hammered the porch roof. Logan felt the cold air pushing through the gap in the door, cutting through his shirt. He should close it, lock it, go back to pretending the world outside his house wasn't his problem. But Mia was upstairs. And if someone dangerous was following this woman, if they showed up here because he turned her away, he stepped back, opened the door wider. 5 minutes, then you're gone. She hesitated like she hadn't expected him to say yes. Then she stepped inside, water dripping from her coat, onto his floor. Logan closed the door and locked it, then moved past her to check the front windows. The street was empty except for the rain and the wind bending the trees nearly horizontal. When he turned back, she was standing in the middle of his living room, arms wrapped around herself, looking like she didn't know what to do with the fact that someone had let her in. Sit down before you fall down, Logan said. She sat on the edge of the couch, spine straight, hands folded in her lap like she was in a boardroom instead of a stranger's house at midnight. Logan stayed standing. He crossed his arms and waited. "My name is Ava," she said finally. "Ava Carter." The name didn't mean anything to him. He nodded. "Okay, I run a company, Carter Dynamics. We do—" She stopped herself. "It doesn't matter what we do. What matters is that I left someone and he won't let me go." "Left someone," Logan repeated. "Like a boyfriend?" "Like a man who thought he owned me." The way she said it, flat, factual, bitter, made Logan's jaw tighten. He'd heard that tone before. From his sister, years ago, before she finally got out. From women at the shelter where he used to volunteer, back when he had time for things like that. "You file a restraining order?" "It wouldn't work." "Why not?" Ava looked at him, and for the first time he saw something other than fear in her eyes. Anger, maybe, or exhaustion. "Because he's careful. Because he's connected. Because the last woman who tried to leave him ended up in a hospital, and the police said it was an accident." Logan felt something cold settle in his chest. "And you think he's looking for you right now?" "I know he is." "How'd you end up here?" "I was driving. I didn't have a plan. I just needed to get away from the city, away from anywhere he'd think to look." She glanced at the door. "I saw your light on. I thought—" She didn't finish. Logan ran a hand through his hair. This was insane. He didn't know this woman, didn't owe her anything. But he also knew what happened to people who got caught in situations like this. He'd seen it, and he wouldn't be the reason someone else got hurt. "You can stay tonight," he said, "on the couch. But come morning, we figure out a real plan. Police, lawyer, whatever it takes. You understand?" Ava looked at him for a long moment, like she was trying to decide whether to believe him. Then she nodded. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." He went to the hallway closet and pulled out a blanket and a pillow. When he came back, Ava was standing by the window, looking out at the street with her arms still wrapped around herself. "You should sleep," Logan said, setting the blanket on the couch. "I don't think I can." "Then lie down and pretend. You look like you're about to collapse." She turned to face him, and something in her expression softened. "You're kind." "I'm practical." He moved toward the stairs. "There's a bathroom down the hall. Towels are in the cabinet. Don't go upstairs. My daughter's room is up there, and I don't want her waking up to a stranger." "I understand." Logan paused at the base of the stairs. "Ava?" "Yes?" "If you're lying to me, if this is some kind of setup, I'm not going to be understanding about it." "It's not." He studied her face, looking for signs of deception. He didn't find any, just exhaustion and something that looked like gratitude. "Get some rest," he said. He went upstairs, checked on Mia, still asleep, still small and safe in her bed, and then stood in the hallway for a long time, listening to the rain and wondering what the hell he'd just gotten himself into. Logan didn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios in his head. If someone came looking for her, what would he do? Call the cops? Fight? Get Mia out first? He had a baseball bat in the closet, a toolbox in the garage. Not exactly an arsenal, but better than nothing. At some point, he must have dozed off, because the next thing he knew, gray light was filtering through the curtains, and Mia was standing in his doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Daddy, there's a lady downstairs." Logan sat up, rubbing his eyes. "I know, sweetheart, she's—" He struggled for an explanation that wouldn't scare her. "She needed a place to stay last night. She's leaving soon." Mia tilted her head. "Is she nice?" "I think so." "Can I say hi?" "Let me go down first, okay? You stay up here until I say." Mia nodded, and Logan pulled on a shirt and headed downstairs. Ava was already awake, sitting on the couch with the blanket folded neatly beside her. She'd dried off, but her clothes were still damp, and her hair was pulled back in a messy knot. She looked less like a CEO and more like someone who'd spent the night on a stranger's couch, which, Logan supposed, she had. "Morning," he said. "Good morning." She stood, smoothing her coat. "I should go." "Not yet. We need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about. You let me stay and I'm grateful, but I can't involve you any further." "Too late," Logan said. "You showed up on my porch. That already involves me. So sit down and let's figure out what happens next. Ava hesitated, then sat. Logan stayed standing, arms crossed. Start with the truth, he said. All of it. She took a breath. His name is Marcus Hale. We were together for 3 years. At first it was... She paused, choosing her words. It felt like support. He helped me build the company, gave me advice, made connections. But it wasn't support. It was control. Every decision I made, he had a say in. Every person I hired, he vetted. And when I tried to pull back when I said I wanted space, he didn't let you. No. Her voice was quiet. He didn't. Logan felt his jaw tighten. And the woman you mentioned, the one in the hospital. Her name was Claire. She worked for him. When she tried to leave, she was in a car accident. Brake failure, they said. But Claire told me, before she stopped talking to anyone, that she'd heard something in the days before. Footsteps, phone calls. She thought someone was following her. You think he had something to do with it? I know he did. Logan ran a hand over his face. This was worse than he'd thought. Worse than a bad breakup or an angry ex. This was calculated. Dangerous. Why didn't you go to the police? Because Marcus has friends in the police. Because he's careful. Because I don't have proof, just suspicion and fear. She looked at him, and her voice steadied. I built that company from nothing. It's mine. But he's taken everything I worked for and made it his. And if I go back, if I try to fight him without a plan, he'll do to you what he did to Claire. Ava didn't answer. She didn't have to. Logan was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he said, You need a lawyer. Someone who specializes in this kind of thing. Restraining orders, asset protection, whatever it takes. I can't afford to trust anyone right now. Marcus has reach. He'll know if I make a move. Then you make the move fast. You don't give him time to react. Logan moved to the window, scanning the street. It was empty, just like last night. But that didn't mean much. You said you run a company. That means you have resources, money, leverage. I do, but he controls most of it. The accounts, the board. He's embedded himself in everything. Then we untangle him. Ava stared at him. Why are you helping me? Logan turned to face her. Because I know what it's like to feel like you've got no options. And because I've got a daughter upstairs, and I want her to grow up in a world where people help each other when it matters. For the first time since she'd walked through his door, Ava looked like she might cry. But she didn't. She just nodded. Okay, she said. What do we do first? But they started with the basics. Ava needed clean clothes, a phone that Marcus couldn't track, access to documents that proved ownership of her company, and most importantly, she needed to stay off the grid long enough to get a plan in place. Logan drove her to a big box store on the edge of town, watching the rearview mirror the entire time. He bought a burner phone with cash, along with a cheap change of clothes and a prepaid credit card. Ava waited in the car, hood up, face down. When he got back, she was staring at her hands. You didn't have to do this, she said. Yeah, I did. She looked at him, and for a moment he thought she might argue. But she didn't. She just took the bag and said, Thank you. They drove back in silence. When they got to the house, Mia was sitting at the kitchen table, eating cereal and swinging her legs. She looked up when they walked in. Hi, she said to Ava. Ava smiled, small, careful. Hi, I'm Mia. That's my dad. I know, I'm Ava. Mia studied her for a moment, then said, You slept on our couch. I did. Your dad was very kind. He's nice, Mia said matter-of-factly. But he's also grumpy in the morning. Logan snorted. Thanks, kid. Ava's smile widened just a little. I'll keep that in mind. Mia went back to her cereal, and Logan gestured for Ava to follow him into the living room. He kept his voice low. You need to decide what you're doing, he said. If you stay here, you're putting me and Mia at risk. If you leave, you're on your own. So, which is it? Ava looked toward the kitchen, where Mia was humming to herself. Then she looked back at Logan. I won't stay long, she said. A few days at most. Just until I can get access to my accounts and find somewhere safe. And if he finds you, then I'll deal with it. Logan shook his head. That's not good enough. If he shows up here, I need to know what I'm dealing with. Is he violent? Does he carry a weapon? What's his endgame? Ava's expression hardened. His endgame is control. He won't hurt me, not physically, but he'll destroy me in every other way he can. My reputation, my company, my ability to ever work again. She paused. As for whether he's violent, I don't know. I never saw that side of him, but Claire did. Logan felt a chill run through him. Great. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come here. Too late for that. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Logan said, We'll figure it out. But you need to be straight with me. No more surprises. I will. And you stay away from Mia. I don't want her involved in this. Ava nodded. I understand. Logan didn't entirely believe her, but for now, it was the best he could do. The next 2 days passed in a strange, tense rhythm. Ava kept to herself, working on the burner phone and making quiet calls to people Logan didn't ask about. He went to work, kept his head down, and tried not to think about the fact that he had a woman hiding in his house from a man who might be dangerous. Mia, for her part, seemed fascinated by Ava. She'd sneak glances at her during breakfast, ask her questions about what she did for work, tell her long, rambling stories about school. Ava answered patiently, even smiled a few times. Logan wanted to shut it down, but he also didn't want to make Mia suspicious. So he let it happen, even though it made his chest tight with worry. On the third night, Logan came home to find Ava sitting at the kitchen table, her face pale. What happened? He asked. She didn't answer right away. She just stared at her phone. Ava, what happened? He knows I'm here. Logan felt the floor drop out from under him. How? I don't know. I've been careful, but he just sent me a message. She turned the phone toward him. The text was short. You can't hide, Ava. Come home. Logan read it twice, then set the phone down. Did you respond? No. Good. Don't. He moved to the window, scanning the street, still empty. Does he know the address? I don't think so. But if he's tracking me, it's only a matter of time. Logan's mind raced. They couldn't stay here, not if Marcus was closing in. But they couldn't run blind either. They needed a plan. Okay, he said. Here's what we do. You said you need documents from your old place, right? Things that prove ownership of the company? Ava nodded. They're in a safe in my office, but Marcus has the keys to the building. He'll know if I go there. Then we don't give him time to react. We go tonight, get what you need, and get out before he knows what happened. That's insane. You got a better idea? Ava stared at him. You're serious. You need those documents, and if he's already tracking you, it's only a matter of time before he figures out where you are. So we move first. For a moment, she looked like she might argue, but then she nodded. Okay, but I'm not dragging you into this more than I already have. If it goes wrong, it won't, Logan said. He wasn't sure he believed it, but he said it anyway. They left at midnight. Ava gave Logan directions, and he drove, keeping his speed steady, his eyes on the mirrors. The city skyline came into view around 1 a.m, all glass and steel and lights that never went out. Ava's building was downtown, a sleek high-rise with a lobby that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Logan parked a block away and they walked the rest of the distance, staying in the shadows. You sure about this? Logan asked. No, Ava said, but we're doing it anyway. They slipped inside through a side entrance. Ava swiped a keycard she'd kept hidden, and the door clicked open. The building was quiet, just the hum of air conditioning and the distant sound of traffic outside. They took the stairs to the 15th floor. Ava led the way, her steps quick and sure, despite the fear Logan could see in her shoulders. When they reached her office, she hesitated. He could be here, she said. Then we'll deal with it. She unlocked the door. The office was dark, empty. Ava moved to the desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a key. Then she knelt by the wall safe and started working the combination. Logan stood by the door, listening. Everything was still, too still. Ava, he said quietly. Almost done. Ava, we need to go, now. She looked up, confused. Then she heard it too, footsteps, coming down the hall, down. Ava grabbed the papers from the safe and shoved them into her bag. Logan pulled her toward the door, but it was too late. The hallway light flicked on, and standing there, blocking their exit, was a man in an expensive suit, his face calm, his eyes cold. Hello, Ava. Marcus Hale said. "I've been waiting for you." Logan's hand was already moving toward Ava's arm, pulling her back, but Marcus didn't move from the doorway. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, looking at them like they were children who'd been caught breaking curfew. "You didn't really think you could just walk in here, did you?" Marcus's voice was smooth, almost amused. "I've had alerts on this building since the day you left. Every door, every elevator, every camera." Ava's breathing had gone shallow, but her voice came out steady. "Get out of my way." "Your way?" Marcus smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Ava, this stopped being your building the moment you decided to run. Did you really think I'd let you take what's mine? It was never yours. Everything you have is because of me. The investors, the contracts, the board seats, all of it. You were smart, I'll give you that. But smart doesn't mean capable. Not on your own." Logan felt Ava go rigid beside him. He kept his grip on her arm, not hard, just enough to keep her from doing something stupid. Marcus's gaze shifted to him for the first time, taking in the work boots, the worn jacket, the calloused hands. "And who's this?" Marcus asked. "Your new project? A handyman? How practical." "He's none of your business," Ava said. "Everything about you is my business." Marcus took a step forward, and Logan moved to block him. It wasn't a big movement, just a shift of weight, a positioning of his body between Marcus and Ava, but it was enough to make Marcus stop. They stared at each other for a moment. Marcus was taller, better dressed, the kind of man who'd never worked with his hands a day in his life. But Logan had been in enough fights growing up to know that size and money didn't mean much when it came down to it. "You should leave," Logan said quietly. Marcus's smile widened. "Or what? You'll hit me? In her office? With cameras running?" He gestured vaguely at the ceiling. "Please, go ahead. I'll have you arrested before you make it to the lobby." "He's not worth it," Ava said, her hand finding Logan's shoulder. "Let's just go." But Marcus moved again, this time stepping fully into the doorway, blocking their path. "You're not going anywhere. Not until we talk." "We have nothing to talk about." "You have everything to talk about, starting with the fact that you've been using company resources to fund your little disappearing act. The car you've been driving, registered to Carter Dynamics, the credit card you used at that motel in Pennsylvania, company account. You've been stealing from your own business, Ava. That's embezzlement." Ava's face went white. "You're lying." "Am I? Check the records. I'm sure your new friend here would love to know how you've been financing your freedom." Logan looked at Ava. She was staring at Marcus like he'd just hit her. "I didn't. Those accounts were mine. I set them up myself. And I restructured them 6 months ago. Everything runs through the main corporate account now, which means every dollar you've spent has come directly from company funds." Marcus's voice was calm, factual, like he was explaining the weather. "You want to fight me in court? Go ahead, but you'll be fighting from a jail cell." Logan felt something cold settle in his gut. He didn't know much about corporate law, but he knew enough to understand that Marcus had just put Ava in a corner. If what he was saying was true, if he'd really restructured the accounts without telling her, then Ava had been using company money without authorization. And that was a crime, regardless of who actually owned the company. "You set me up," Ava said, her voice shaking now. "You knew I'd run. You planned this." "I planned for every possibility," Marcus said. "That's what separates people like me from people like you. You react. I prepare." Logan's hands clenched into fists. Every instinct he had was screaming at him to hit this man, to wipe that smug expression off his face and drag Ava out of here. But Marcus was right about the cameras, and about the consequences. "What do you want?" Logan asked. Marcus looked at him, eyebrows raised. "Excuse me? You didn't come here just to gloat. So what do you want?" For a moment, Marcus said nothing. Then he turned his attention back to Ava. "I want you to come home. I want you to stop this nonsense and remember who you are. Who we are together." "We're nothing together," Ava said. "That's not true. You built an empire with my help. You became someone who matters. And now you're throwing it all away because of what? Pride? Fear?" Marcus took another step closer. "I'm offering you a way back, Ava. No charges. No scandal. You just come home, we fix this mess you've made, and we move forward." "Move forward," Ava repeated, her voice hollow. "Like none of this happened." "Exactly. And what about the woman in the hospital? Claire, does she get to move forward too? Marcus's expression didn't change. Claire made her own choices, just like you're making yours. Logan had heard enough. He moved toward Marcus, and this time he didn't stop. He got right in the man's face, close enough to smell his expensive cologne, close enough to see the flicker of surprise in his eyes. "Here's what's going to happen," Logan said, his voice low and dangerous. "You're going to step aside. You're going to let us walk out of here, and you're going to leave her alone." Marcus recovered quickly. "Or what?" "Or I stop caring about cameras." They stood there, inches apart, and Logan could feel the tension coiling in his shoulders, in his jaw. He wanted to hit this man, wanted it so badly his hands were shaking, but Ava's voice cut through the moment. "Logan, don't." He looked back at her. She was holding the bag with the documents, her face pale but determined. "He's not worth it," she said again. "And I'm not going to let him destroy you too." Logan held Marcus's gaze for another second, then stepped back. Marcus straightened his jacket, his smile returning. "Smart choice," he said. Then to Ava, "You have 24 hours to decide. After that, I file charges. And trust me, Ava, you don't want that fight." He stepped aside. Logan took Ava's hand and led her past Marcus into the hallway toward the stairs. They moved quickly, not running, but not walking either. Logan kept listening for footsteps behind them, for Marcus to change his mind and follow, but the hallway stayed quiet. They made it to the stairwell. Down 15 floors, their footsteps echoing in the concrete shaft. Out the side door, into the cold night air. Logan didn't stop until they were back at his truck, doors locked, engine running. Ava was shaking. "Hey," Logan said, "look at me." She did. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. "Did you know?" he asked. "About the accounts?" "No, I swear. I set those up years ago. They were separate. He must have—" She stopped, shaking her head. "It doesn't matter. He did it, and now he has leverage." Logan pulled out of the parking spot and headed toward the highway. He kept checking the mirrors, but no one was following them, at least not visibly. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "I don't know." "You can't go back to him." "I know that." "So we find another way." Ava looked at him, and for the first time since they'd left the building, something like hope flickered in her expression. "You keep saying we." "Yeah. So?" "So why? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. And now you've got Marcus Hale threatening you too. Why are you still helping?" Logan didn't answer right away. He focused on the road, on the lights of the city falling away behind them. Finally he said, "Because walking away isn't always the right thing to do." They drove in silence after that. By the time they got back to Logan's house, it was almost 3 a.m. Mia was still asleep. The street was still empty. Everything looked exactly like they'd left it, but Logan felt like the ground had shifted beneath them. Inside, Ava set the bag on the kitchen table and pulled out the documents. Legal papers, contracts, bank statements. She spread them out, scanning each one with tired eyes. "What are you looking for?" Logan asked. "Proof that the company is mine, that I funded it, that Marcus's name isn't on anything that matters." "And?" She picked up one of the contracts, staring at it. "It's here. All of it. But if he's restructured the accounts like he said, if he's embedded himself in the financial side, then it doesn't matter what these say. He can still make my life hell." Logan leaned against the counter. "What about the board? You said there's a board. Can they override him? Maybe, if I can prove he's been acting without authorization. But that takes time, and lawyers, and money I don't have access to." "Then we get you access." Ava looked up. "How?" "I don't know yet, but sitting here feeling sorry for yourself isn't going to solve anything." It came out harsher than he'd meant, and Ava flinched, but then her jaw set, and she nodded. "You're right. Damn right I'm right." Logan pushed off the counter. "You said Marcus controls the accounts, so we find someone who can freeze them. A judge, a lawyer, someone who can put a hold on everything until this gets sorted out. That's a restraining order, against the accounts, not him. So we do both." Ava stared at him. "You make it sound simple." "It's not, but it's a start." She gathered the papers back into the bag, her movements mechanical. "I'll make some calls in the morning, see if I can find someone who'll take the case." "Good. And in the meantime, you stay here." "Logan, I'm not arguing about this. Marcus knows you're with someone. He doesn't know who or where. That buys us time. But if you run again, he'll find you faster. Ava didn't argue. She just nodded, exhaustion finally catching up with her. Logan showed her to the guest room upstairs, a small space with a twin bed and a window that looked out over the backyard. It wasn't much, but it was better than the couch. Thank you, Ava said. Get some sleep. He left her there and went to check on Mia. She was still out, curled up with her rabbit, oblivious to everything happening downstairs. Logan stood in the doorway for a long time, watching her breathe, and wondered how the hell he was going to keep her safe if this situation went sideways. When he finally crawled into his own bed, he didn't sleep. He just stared at the ceiling and ran through every possible scenario, trying to find one where this ended without someone getting hurt. He didn't find it. Morning came too fast. Logan got up, made coffee, and found Ava already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with her phone and a notepad covered in scribbled names and numbers. You sleep at all? He asked. A little. She didn't look up. I've been calling lawyers. Most won't touch this. The ones who will want retainers I can't afford. Logan poured himself coffee. What about the ones you've worked with before, through the company? All of them have ties to Marcus, either directly or through mutual clients. I can't trust any of them. Then we find someone outside the network. I'm trying, but it's not that simple. Corporate law is specialized, and anyone good enough to take this on is expensive. Logan sat down across from her. What if we go public, media, press, whatever? Make enough noise that Marcus can't just sweep this under the rug. Ava shook her head. That's a last resort. If I go public, he'll spin it. Make me look unstable, vindictive, a disgruntled partner. By the time the truth comes out, my reputation will be destroyed. So we're stuck. For now. Mia wandered into the kitchen then, still in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. She looked at Ava, then at Logan. Is Ava staying forever? She asked. No, sweetheart. Just a little while longer. Okay. Mia climbed into her chair and reached for the cereal box. Can we have pancakes? Logan glanced at Ava, who looked like she was barely holding it together. Sure, kid. Pancakes. He made them from scratch, the way Mia liked, thick and slightly burned on the edges. Ava sat quietly watching them, and Logan could see something in her expression that looked almost like envy, like she was seeing something she'd never had and didn't know how to process it. After breakfast, Mia went upstairs to get dressed, and Logan cleaned up the kitchen. Ava helped, moving slowly, methodically, like she needed something to do with her hands. You're good with her, she said. She's my kid. I'm supposed to be. Not everyone is. Logan didn't know what to say to that, so he didn't say anything. He just rinsed the plates and stacked them in the dishwasher. Ava set down the mug she'd been drying. I'm sorry I brought this into your life. You already said that. I mean it. I know. He turned to face her. But we're past apologies now, so let's focus on fixing it. She nodded. But before she could respond, Logan's phone buzzed on the counter. He picked it up, saw the name on the screen, and felt his stomach drop. Rachel. His ex-wife. He answered. Yeah? We need to talk, Rachel said. Her voice was tight, clipped. About the custody hearing. I'm listening. My lawyer's been digging, and apparently you've got someone living with you, a woman, someone Mia mentioned to me last time she stayed over. Logan felt his jaw tighten. It's temporary. She's a friend who needed help. I don't care what she is. You didn't tell me, and now my lawyer's going to make it an issue. He's saying you're exposing Mia to unstable living conditions. That's bullshit, Rachel. Maybe. But it's going to look bad in court. And if you don't fix it, the judge is going to side with me. Logan gripped the phone so hard his knuckles went white. Mia is fine. I'm not putting her in danger. Then prove it. Get this woman out of your house before the hearing. Because if you don't, I'm pushing for full custody. And I'll win. She hung up. Logan stood there, staring at his phone, feeling the walls close in around him. Ava was watching him. What happened? My ex-wife. She found out you're here. Her lawyer's going to use it against me in the custody hearing. Ava's face went pale. I'll leave. Right now, I'll... No. Logan set the phone down. You're not going anywhere. Logan, you just said... I know what I said, but I'm not throwing you out because Rachel's trying to weaponize this. We'll figure it out. There's nothing to figure out. If you lose custody of Mia because of me, I won't." He didn't know if that was true, but he said it anyway. Ava looked at him for a long moment, and Logan could see her calculating, trying to find a way to fix this. Finally, she said, "What if I testify?" "Testify?" "At the hearing. I'll explain why I'm here. I'll make it clear that I'm not a threat to Mia, that you're helping me because you're a good person, not because you're irresponsible." Logan shook his head. "That'll just open you up to more scrutiny. Rachel's lawyer will dig into your life, your past with Marcus, all of it. And if they connect the dots, if they find out Marcus is threatening you, it'll make everything worse." "Then what do we do?" Logan didn't have an answer. For the first time since this whole thing started, he felt genuinely cornered. Marcus on one side, Rachel on the other, and Mia caught in the middle. He was about to say something, he didn't know what, when his phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Rachel. It was a number he didn't recognize. He answered cautiously. "Yeah?" A man's voice came through, calm and professional. "Is this Logan Hayes?" "Who's asking?" "My name is David Chen. I'm a lawyer specializing in corporate and civil litigation. I was given your name by a mutual acquaintance who thought you might need representation." Logan frowned. "I don't know any lawyers." The acquaintance didn't want to be named, but they made it clear that time is of the essence. "I understand you're currently assisting someone in a rather complicated situation involving Marcus Hale." Logan's blood went cold. He glanced at Ava, who was watching him with wide eyes. "How do you know about that?" Logan asked. "Like I said, I was contacted, and I'm calling to offer my services. No retainer, no upfront fees. I'll take the case on contingency." "Why?" There was a pause, then, "Because I know what Marcus Hale is capable of, and I've been waiting for someone brave enough to stand up to him." Logan's grip on the phone tightened. "You got a history with him?" "Let's just say I've seen his work, and I don't like it." Logan looked at Ava. She was mouthing, "Who is it?" He held up a hand. "What are you offering?" Logan asked. "Legal representation for Ms. Carter, restraining orders, asset freezes, whatever it takes to untangle her from Hale's influence. And I can have the paperwork filed by this afternoon." It sounded too good to be true, which meant it probably was. "What's the catch?" Logan asked. "No catch. Just a condition. Ms. Carter has to be willing to testify, fully, about everything Hale has done. Because this isn't just about her anymore. There are others, people he's hurt. And if we're going to stop him, we need someone willing to go on record." Logan looked at Ava. She was standing now, gripping the edge of the table. "I need to talk to her," Logan said. "Take your time, but Mr. Hayes, don't take too long. Hale is already moving, and if we don't act fast, he'll bury her before she has a chance to fight back." The line went dead. Logan set the phone down and turned to Ava. "There's a lawyer," he said, "offering to take your case, no fees." Ava's eyes widened. "Who?" "David Chen. Says he knows what Marcus is capable of, but there's a condition. You have to testify. About everything." Ava sat down slowly. "If I testify, Marcus will destroy me. He'll use every dirty trick he has. My company, my reputation, everything. Or you could win." She looked at him, and Logan could see the fear in her eyes. But he could also see something else, something that looked like determination. "What do you think I should do?" she asked. Logan sat down across from her. "I think you're tired of running. I think you're tired of being scared. And I think you know that if you don't fight now, you never will." Ava stared at him, then slowly she nodded. "Okay," she said. Set up the meeting. David Chen's office was in a building that looked like it had seen better days. Cracked tile in the lobby, fluorescent lights that buzzed too loud, a receptionist who barely looked up when they walked in. But the man himself was sharp. Mid-40s, wire-rimmed glasses, a suit that was well-made but not flashy. He shook their hands and gestured to the chairs across from his desk. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I know this is a lot to process." "Start with how you know about Marcus," Ava said. No preamble, no pleasantries. Chen didn't blink. "I represented Claire, the woman who was in the accident." The air in the room went still. Ava leaned forward. "She hired you?" "She was going to. We had a meeting scheduled, but before we could file anything, the accident happened. And after that, he paused. She stopped returning my calls. Marcus got to her, Ava said quietly. I believe so, but I couldn't prove it, and without her testimony, I had nothing. Logan crossed his arms. So you're hoping Ava will do what Claire couldn't? I'm offering Ava the chance to do what Claire couldn't, Chen corrected. There's a difference. Ava sat back. What do you need from me? Chen pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk. First, a detailed account of your relationship with Marcus Hale. Every instance of control, manipulation, coercion, every financial irregularity, every threat, implied or explicit. He's careful, Ava said. Most of it was verbal, private. That's fine. We'll corroborate where we can. But your testimony is the foundation. And the accounts? Logan asked. Marcus says he restructured them, that Ava's been using company money without authorization. Chen nodded. That's a problem. But if we can prove he restructured them without proper board approval, we can argue that the changes were invalid, which means Ava was using her own funds all along. Can you prove that? Ava asked. I can try, but I'll need access to the company's financial records, and I'll need it fast. Marcus is already positioning himself. If we don't move now, he'll lock everything down. Ava looked at Logan. He could see the question in her eyes. Is this real? Can I trust this? He didn't have an answer, but he nodded anyway. What's the first step? Ava asked, turning back to Chen. We file for a temporary restraining order against Marcus and against any further changes to the company's financial structure. That'll freeze everything while we build the case. How long will that take? If we move fast, 48 hours? Ava took a breath. Then she said, Do it. Chen pulled out a legal pad and started writing. Logan sat back, watching them work, and tried to ignore the gnawing feeling in his gut that this was about to get a whole lot worse before it got better. When they left the office an hour later, Ava looked exhausted but lighter somehow. Like the weight she'd been carrying had shifted just enough to let her breathe. You okay? Logan asked. I don't know, but I feel like I did something. Finally. They drove back to the house in silence. When they pulled into the driveway, Logan saw Rachel's car parked on the street. His stomach dropped. Stay here, he told Ava. Logan, just stay in the truck. He got out and walked toward the house. Rachel was standing on the porch, arms crossed, her expression icy. We need to talk, she said. Not now. Yes, now. Because if you think I'm going to let this slide, Rachel, I don't have time for this. Make time. She stepped closer. I know who that woman is, Logan. I know what she's running from. And I know that you're putting Mia in the middle of it. Logan felt his hands clench into fists. Mia is fine. She doesn't even know what's happening. She shouldn't have to know, but you're making her part of it anyway. I'm helping someone who needs it. At the expense of your own daughter. That hit harder than it should have. Logan took a breath, trying to keep his voice level. I'm not going to argue with you about this. Then don't. Just get that woman out of your house. Or I swear, Logan, I'll make sure you never see Mia again. She turned and walked to her car. Logan stood there, watching her drive away, and felt the ground crumble beneath him. When he got back to the truck, Ava was staring straight ahead, her face pale. I heard, she said. It's fine. It's not fine, she's right. I'm putting Mia at risk. You're not. I am, and you know it. Logan didn't answer, because part of him knew she was right. But another part, the part that had opened the door that first night, refused to accept it. We'll figure it out, he said. Ava didn't respond. She just got out of the truck and walked into the house, and Logan followed, wondering how much longer he could keep saying that before it stopped meaning anything at all. Inside, Ava went straight to the guest room and closed the door. Logan stood in the hallway, staring at it, trying to figure out what the hell he was supposed to do now. Rachel's words were still ringing in his ears. The custody hearing was in 3 weeks. 3 weeks to prove he wasn't a danger to his own daughter. 3 weeks to convince a judge that helping someone in trouble didn't make him irresponsible. He went downstairs and found Mia on the couch, watching cartoons with her rabbit tucked under her arm. She looked up when he walked in. Is Mom mad at you? She asked. Logan sat down beside her. A little bit. Because of Ava? Yeah. Mia frowned. But Ava's nice. She helped me with my homework yesterday. Logan's chest tightened. I know, sweetheart. Then why is Mom mad? Because grown-ups make things complicated sometimes. Mia considered this, then went back to her cartoons. Logan sat there beside her, pretending to watch, but his mind was somewhere else entirely. He kept thinking about Rachel's threat, about Marcus's deadline, about the lawyer who'd appeared out of nowhere offering help that felt too convenient. His phone buzzed. A text from David Chen. Restraining order filed. Hearing scheduled for Friday. Need Ava there. Friday, 2 days away. Logan typed back, she'll be there. He looked at Mia, still absorbed in her show, oblivious to the storm gathering around them. He wanted to keep her that way. Safe. Separate. But Rachel was right about one thing. He'd brought this into their lives, and now there was no way to keep it from touching her. Upstairs, a door opened. Footsteps in the hallway. Ava appeared at the top of the stairs, her face composed but pale. Can we talk? She asked. Logan glanced at Mia. Give me a minute, kid. He followed Ava into the kitchen. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed, and for a moment she didn't say anything, just stood there, looking at the floor. I'm leaving, she said finally. No, you're not. Logan, your ex-wife is threatening to take your daughter because of me. That's not something you can just... The hearing's on Friday, Logan interrupted. Chen filed the restraining order. You need to be there. I'll be there, but after that I'm gone. I'll figure something else out. Stay with the lawyer, find a hotel, I don't know, but I'm not going to be the reason you lose Mia. Logan shook his head. You leave now, Marcus wins. He's counting on you running, on you being too scared to fight. And what if he's right? What if I can't do this? Then you do it anyway. Ava looked at him, and he could see the exhaustion in her eyes. Not just physical, deeper than that. The kind of tired that came from fighting for so long you forgot what peace felt like. Why do you care so much? She asked quietly. Because someone has to. That's not an answer. Logan leaned against the opposite counter. My sister was in a situation like yours. Different guy, same control. She tried to leave 3 times before it stuck. The first 2 times she went back because no one helped her. No one believed her, and she almost didn't make it out the 3rd time. He paused. I wasn't there for her when she needed it. I was too busy trying to keep my own life from falling apart. So yeah, maybe I care too much. But I'm not making that mistake again. Ava was quiet for a long time. Then she said, What happened to her? She got out, moved across the country. Last I heard, she's married to someone decent, has 2 kids. We don't talk much anymore. Why not? Because I remind her of a time she's trying to forget. Ava looked down at her hands. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just don't leave. She didn't answer right away, but after a moment she nodded. Okay, until Friday. We'll figure out what comes after when we get there. Ava pushed off the counter and moved toward the stairs, but Logan's phone rang before she made it out of the kitchen. He looked at the screen. Unknown number. He answered cautiously. Yeah? Mr. Hayes. The voice was smooth, familiar. Marcus. I thought we should talk. Logan's jaw clenched. We've got nothing to talk about. I think we do. See, I know you filed a restraining order, and I know you've hired David Chen. That was a mistake. That sounds like a threat. It's a fact. Chen has a history of taking cases he can't win. He's good at making noise, but he's not good at results. And in the meantime, Ava's making her situation worse. How's that? Because now I have to respond publicly. And when I do, it's not just going to affect her. It's going to affect everyone around her, including you. Logan felt his grip tighten on the phone. What do you want? I want you to convince Ava to drop this. Come back. We'll settle things privately, and no one else has to get hurt. Not happening, Marcus sighed like Logan was a child refusing to listen to reason. You have a daughter, Mia, right? 7 years old. Goes to Riverside Elementary. Her teacher is Ms. Thompson. The floor dropped out from under Logan. You stay the hell away from her. I'm not threatening her, Mr. Hayes. I'm reminding you that actions have consequences, and the people who get hurt are rarely the ones who started the fight. If you go near my daughter, I won't have to. You're doing the damage yourself. Your ex-wife's lawyer already knows about Ava. How long do you think it'll take before the judge hears about it, before they decide you're not fit to have custody? Marcus paused. All I'm asking is that you think about what's best for Mia, because right now, you're not. The line went dead. Logan stood there, staring at the phone, his heart hammering in his chest. Ava was watching him from the doorway. "What did he say?" she asked. "He knows about Mia, about the custody hearing." Ava's face went white. "How?" "Doesn't matter. He knows and he's going to use it. Then I'm leaving. Right now. No." Logan set the phone down, forcing his hands to steady. "That's what he wants. He wants you scared, wants you running, but we're not giving him that. Logan, he just threatened your daughter. He implied. He didn't threaten. There's a difference." Logan moved to the window, checking the street. Still empty. "But it means we need to be smarter. We can't just react anymore. We need a plan." Ava crossed her arms. "What kind of plan?" "The kind where we hit him first." The next day, Logan called Chen, told him about Marcus's call, about the veiled threats, about the escalation. Chen listened without interrupting, and when Logan finished, there was a long pause. "He's trying to rattle you," Chen said. "Standard intimidation tactic." "It's working." "Good. Use it." Logan frowned. "What?" "If he's making threats, even implied ones, we can use that, especially if we can get him to do it again. On record." "You want me to bait him?" "I want you to give him rope. Let him think he's in control. And when he slips up, when he says something he can't take back, we use it against him." Logan didn't like it, but he also didn't have a better option. "What do I have to do?" "Answer his calls, keep him talking, and record everything." "That legal?" "In this state? Yes, as long as one party consents and you're the party." Logan glanced at Ava, who was sitting at the kitchen table with a cold cup of coffee. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "What about Ava? What does she need to do?" "Show up on Friday, testify, and don't let him see you break." After they hung up, Logan relayed the conversation to Ava. She listened, her expression unreadable. "You think it'll work?" she asked. "I think it's the only shot we've got." Ava picked up her coffee, stared at it, then set it back down. "I hate this." "Yeah, me too. I hate that he's still controlling me, even now, even from a distance." Logan sat down across from her. "Then stop letting him." "It's not that simple." "It is. He's got power because you're afraid of him. The moment you stop being afraid, he loses." Ava looked at him, and for a moment he saw something flicker in her eyes. Not hope, exactly. More like anger. The kind that had been buried under fear for so long it had almost disappeared. "I want him gone," she said quietly. "Not just out of my life. Gone. I want him to lose everything the way he made me feel like I was losing everything." Logan nodded. "Then let's make it happen." Thursday came faster than Logan wanted. He spent the day at the job site, hammering nails and trying not to think about Marcus or Rachel or the hearing tomorrow. But his phone stayed in his pocket, volume up, waiting for another call that didn't come. When he got home, Ava was sitting on the porch. She'd been doing that more often, just sitting, staring at the street, like she was waiting for something. Logan sat down beside her. "You okay?" he asked. "Define okay." "Fair point." They sat in silence for a while. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that felt too pretty for the situation they were in. "I've been thinking," Ava said, "about what happens after Friday." "What about it?" "If we win, if Chen pulls this off and I get the restraining order, Marcus isn't going to stop. He'll find another way. Another angle. He always does." Logan didn't argue. She was probably right. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I need to be ready for that. I need to stop reacting and start planning, not just legally, practically." She looked at him. "I need to go back to the company, not to work, not yet, but to get something Marcus doesn't know I have." "What's that?" "Leverage." Logan frowned. "You already got the documents. I got the contracts, the financial records, but there's something else, a backup drive. I kept it in my office. Hidden. It's got emails, recordings, everything Marcus ever said to me when he thought I wasn't paying attention." "Why didn't you mention this before?" "Because I wasn't sure I wanted to use it, but I do now." Logan leaned back. "When do you want to go?" "Tonight, after Mia's asleep." "Ava, I know it's risky, but Marcus will have security on high alert after we filed the restraining order. If we wait, it'll be impossible." It has to be tonight. Logan wanted to argue, wanted to tell her it was too dangerous, that they should wait until after the hearing, that there had to be another way. But he could see the determination in her face, and he knew that look. It was the same one his sister had worn the night she finally left for good. "All right," he said, "but we do it smart. In and out. No confrontations." Ava nodded. "Agreed. They left at 11. Mia was asleep, and Logan had asked his neighbor, an older woman named Mrs. Brennan, who'd babysat for him before, to stay in the house until they got back. She'd asked questions, but Logan had deflected, said it was a work emergency. She didn't look convinced, but she agreed. The drive to the city felt longer this time. Ava gave directions, and Logan kept checking the mirrors, waiting for headlights that never appeared. When they reached the building, it was dark except for a few lights on the upper floors. "Security patrols every hour," Ava said. "We've got maybe 20 minutes." They parked in the same spot as before and walked to the side entrance. Ava swiped her card. The door clicked open. They slipped inside. The stairwell was quiet, their footsteps echoing too loud. Logan's heart was pounding by the time they reached the 15th floor. Ava unlocked her office, and they stepped inside. Everything was exactly as they'd left it. The desk, the safe, the files. Ava moved to the bookshelf on the far wall and pulled out a thick volume, some kind of business textbook. Behind it was a small compartment. She reached in and pulled out a hard drive no bigger than Logan's palm. "Got it," she said. "Good. Let's go." But before they could move, the lights in the hallway flicked on. Logan froze. Footsteps, multiple sets, and then voices. "Check the offices. She was here last week. She might be stupid enough to come back." Logan recognized the voice, one of the security guards from the lobby. Ava's eyes went wide. Logan grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the window. "Fire escape," he whispered. "It's 15 floors. You got a better idea?" She didn't. Logan pushed the window open as quietly as he could. The metal fire escape groaned under his weight as he climbed out. Ava followed, clutching the hard drive. They moved down the ladder, one floor at a time. The city stretched out below them like a field of broken stars. Halfway down, Logan heard a shout from above. Someone had seen them. Flashlights swept the side of the building. "Move," Logan said. They scrambled down faster, the metal slick with dew. Logan's foot slipped once, and for a heart-stopping second, he thought he was going over. But Ava grabbed his arm, steadying him, and they kept going. They hit the ground in an alley behind the building. Logan could hear footsteps above, hear the guards calling to each other. He grabbed Ava's hand and ran. They made it to the truck, threw themselves inside, and Logan gunned the engine. He didn't slow down until they were on the highway, the city lights fading behind them. Ava was breathing hard, clutching the hard drive like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. "You okay?" Logan asked. Yeah, I'm okay." "That was close. Too close." She looked at the hard drive, then at Logan. "But we got it. Now what?" "Now we give it to Chen, and we pray it's enough." Us. Friday morning came with gray skies and a cold wind that cut through Logan's jacket. He stood outside the courthouse, hands in his pockets, watching people file in and out. Ava was beside him, wearing a borrowed blazer that was too big for her but made her look more pulled together than she felt. Chen met them inside. He took the hard drive, listened to Ava's explanation, and nodded. "This is good," he said. "Better than good. If what you're saying is on here, it's going to change everything." "How long until you can use it?" Logan asked. "Depends on the judge, but I'll push for it today." They walked into the courtroom together. It was smaller than Logan expected, just a few rows of benches, a judge's desk, and a table for each side. Marcus was already there, sitting with his lawyer, looking calm and composed. When he saw Ava, he smiled. Not cruel, just confident. Logan felt his jaw tighten. He wanted to walk over there, wipe that smile off Marcus's face. But Ava's hand found his arm, and she squeezed. A warning. Or maybe just a reminder that this wasn't the place. The hearing started. Chen laid out the case. Marcus's control, the financial manipulation, the implied threats. Marcus's lawyer countered, painting Ava as unstable, vindictive, a disgruntled partner trying to destroy a man who'd only ever helped her. It went back and forth for what felt like hours. Logan sat in the back, watching, his hands clenched in his lap. At one point, the judge asked Ava to speak. She stood, walked to the witness stand, and for a moment Logan thought she might break. But then she started talking, her voice steady, and he saw the woman she must have been before Marcus, strong, sharp, unshakable. She told the judge everything, the control, the manipulation, the restructured accounts. And when Chen introduced the hard drive, when he played a recording of Marcus telling Ava she'd never survive without him, the room went silent. Marcus's lawyer tried to object, tried to argue that the recording was taken without consent, that it was inadmissible. But Chen was ready. He cited the state law, showed that Ava had been part of the conversation, that she had every right to record it. The judge listened, asked questions. And when it was over, she looked at Marcus with an expression that was as cold as the wind outside. "I'm granting the temporary restraining order," she said. "Mr. Hale, you are to have no contact with Ms. Carter. No phone calls, no emails, no third-party communication. Additionally, I'm freezing all accounts associated with Carter Dynamics pending a full financial audit. We'll reconvene in 30 days to review the findings." Marcus's face didn't change, but Logan saw something flicker in his eyes, something that looked like surprise, or maybe anger. "Your Honor," Marcus's lawyer started, but the judge held up a hand. "That's my ruling. Court is adjourned." She banged the gavel, and it was over. Outside, Ava stood on the courthouse steps, staring at the street like she couldn't quite believe what had just happened. Chen was beside her, talking about next steps, about the audit, about building the case for permanent orders. But Logan could see she wasn't really listening. He walked over. "You did good in there." Ava looked at him. For the first time in days, she smiled. Not big, not relieved, just real. "I didn't think we'd win," she said. "Neither did I." "But we did." "Yeah, we did." Chen finished talking and left to file more paperwork. Logan and Ava stood there, the cold wind pulling at their clothes, and for a moment it felt like maybe the worst was over. But then Logan's phone rang. He looked at the screen. "Rachel." He answered. "Yeah? The hearing's on Monday," Rachel said. No greeting, no preamble. "And Logan, you better have a damn good explanation for everything, because my lawyer's going for full custody, and after what I've heard, he thinks he's going to get it." She hung up. Logan stared at the phone, and the relief he'd felt a moment ago evaporated. Ava was watching him. "What is it?" "The custody hearing. It's Monday." "Can you win?" Logan looked at her, and he didn't know how to answer that, because the truth was, he didn't know. He'd spent the last week fighting for Ava, and now he had to fight for Mia, and he wasn't sure he had enough left in him to do both. "I don't know," he said finally. Ava's expression shifted. "Then we make sure you do." That weekend was a blur. Logan spent Saturday gathering documents, pay stubs, rental agreements, anything that proved he was stable, responsible, capable of taking care of his daughter. Ava helped, organizing papers, making calls to references, doing everything she could to support him the way he'd supported her. On Sunday, Logan took Mia to the park. She ran around, climbed on the playground equipment, laughed at something only she found funny. Logan sat on a bench, watching her, and tried not to think about what would happen if he lost her. "You're quiet today," Mia said, coming over to sit beside him. "Just thinking." "About what?" "Grown-up stuff." Mia leaned her head against his arm. "Is Mom still mad at you?" "A little." "Are you going to fix it?" Logan looked down at her. "I'm going to try." "Good. Because I don't want to live with just Mom. She doesn't let me eat cereal for dinner." Logan laughed despite himself. "That's a pretty good reason." "I know." They sat there for a while longer, and Logan tried to memorize the moment. The way Mia's hair smelled like strawberries, the way her hand felt in his, the sound of her laugh, when she saw a dog running past. He wanted to hold on to it because he didn't know if he'd get another chance. That night, after Mia was asleep, Logan sat at the kitchen table with Ava. She'd made coffee, even though neither of them was going to drink it. It was just something to do with their hands. "You nervous?" she asked. "Terrified." "You'll be fine. You're a good father." "Rachel's lawyer doesn't think so." "Rachel's lawyer doesn't know you." Logan picked up his mug, set it back down. "What if it's not enough? What if the judge looks at everything, at you being here, at Marcus, at all of it, and decides I'm too much of a risk? Ava was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Then you appeal. And you keep fighting, because that's what you do." "You sound pretty sure about that." "I am, because I've watched you, and you don't quit, even when you should." Logan looked at her, and something in his chest loosened. Not much, but enough. "Thanks," he said. "For what?" "For not running." Ava smiled, small and sad. "You didn't give me much choice." Tut. Monday morning came too fast. Logan dropped Mia off at school, hugged her tighter than usual, and tried not to let her see the fear in his eyes. Then he drove to the courthouse, his hands gripping the wheel so hard his knuckles went white. Ava was waiting for him outside. She dressed carefully, professional but not flashy. Chen had coached her on what to say if she was called to testify. Logan didn't know if it would be enough, but it was all they had. Inside, Rachel was already seated with her lawyer, a sharp-eyed man in his 50s who looked like he'd never lost a case. He nodded at Logan, polite but cold. Rachel didn't look at him at all. The hearing started. Rachel's lawyer went first, laying out a case that painted Logan as unstable, irresponsible, a man who prioritized strangers over his own daughter. He brought up Ava, brought up Marcus, brought up the restraining order, and the fact that Logan had willingly involved himself in a dangerous situation. "Your Honor," the lawyer said, "Mr. Hayes may have good intentions, but good intentions don't protect a child, and the evidence shows that he's consistently put Miss Hayes in situations where her safety could be compromised." Logan's lawyer countered, presenting the documents, the character references, the evidence that Logan was a devoted father who'd done everything right. But Logan could see the doubt in the judge's eyes, could see the way she looked at him when Rachel's lawyer mentioned Ava. Then Ava stood up. "Your Honor, may I speak?" The judge frowned. "You're not a party to this case." "I know, but I'm the reason Mr. Hayes is being questioned, and I think the court deserves to hear my perspective." The judge hesitated, then nodded. "Keep it brief." Ava walked to the front of the room. She didn't look at Rachel or the lawyer, just at the judge. "My name is Ava Carter," she said, "and Mr. Hayes saved my life." She told the story. Not all of it, just enough. The rain, the fear, the man she was running from, and Logan's choice to help, even though he didn't have to, even though it put him at risk. "He could have turned me away," Ava said. "He should have. But he didn't, because he's the kind of person who helps when it matters. And yes, that put him in a complicated situation, but it also showed me, and I hope it shows this court, that he's exactly the kind of father any child would be lucky to have." When she finished, the room was silent. The judge looked at Ava for a long moment, then at Logan. "Mr. Hayes," she said, "did you understand the risks when you let Ms. Carter stay in your home?" Logan stood. "Yes, Your Honor." "And you did it anyway?" "Yes." "Why?" Logan looked at Mia's empty seat in the back of the room, then at Rachel, then at the judge. "Because someone needed help," he said, "and I had the ability to give it. I know it complicated things, but I wouldn't change it, because that's what I want my daughter to learn, that you help people when they need it, even when it's hard." The judge was quiet. Then she said, "I'll take this under advisement. I'll have a decision by the end of the week." The gavel came down, and just like that, it was over. Outside, Logan stood on the courthouse steps, staring at nothing. Ava was beside him, her hand on his arm. "You did everything you could," she said. "It might not be enough." "It will be." Logan wanted to believe her, but all he could do was wait. The days between the hearing and the judge's decision felt like waiting for a storm that never quite arrived. Logan went to work, came home, checked his phone every 10 minutes. Nothing. Ava spent most of her time on calls with Chen, going over the audit findings, preparing for the next phase of her case against Marcus. They moved around each other carefully, like people trying not to disturb something fragile. Mia asked questions Logan didn't know how to answer. Where would she live if the judge said she had to stay with Mom full time? Would she still see him on weekends? Could she bring her rabbit? Logan told her not to worry, that everything would be fine, but the words felt hollow even as he said them. On Wednesday, Marcus called. Logan almost didn't answer. But then he remembered Chen's advice. Let him talk, let him incriminate himself. So he picked up and hit record. "Mr. Hayes," Marcus said, his voice as smooth as ever, I thought you'd want to know that the audit is going poorly for Ava. Very poorly. That's so? The forensic accountants found irregularities, transfers that can't be explained, expenses that don't match up with company records. It's starting to look like embezzlement wasn't just a threat. It was real. Logan kept his voice level. You planted that evidence. Did I? Can you prove it? Marcus paused. The thing about money, Mr. Hayes, is that it leaves a trail, and trails can be, adjusted with the right expertise. You're admitting to fraud. Marcus laughed, low and easy. I'm not admitting to anything. I'm simply pointing out that Ava's situation is deteriorating, and yours isn't much better. How's the custody battle going? Logan's grip tightened on the phone. Stay out of my business. Your business became my business when you decided to play hero, but I'm a reasonable man. So here's what I'm offering. Convince Ava to drop the restraining order, come back, and I'll make sure the audit findings disappear. And I'll personally call Rachel's lawyer and tell him you're not the problem he thinks you are. Go to hell. Think about it. You have until Friday. After that, the audit results go to the judge, and Ava goes from victim to criminal, and you lose your daughter, all because you couldn't mind your own business. The line went dead. Logan stood there, staring at his phone, feeling rage and helplessness twist together in his chest. Ava appeared in the doorway. Was that him? She asked. Yeah. What did he want? Logan told her. All of it. When he finished, Ava's face had gone pale. He's fabricating evidence, she said. He's manufacturing a case. Can Chen prove it? I don't know. Maybe. But if the audit findings look legitimate, if Marcus covered his tracks well enough, it won't matter what we can prove later. The damage will be done. Logan sat down at the table. So we're back where we started. Worse than where we started. Ava pulled out a chair and sat across from him, because now he's got ammunition. Against both of us. They sat in silence for a while. Outside, the afternoon light was fading, shadows stretching across the yard. Logan thought about Marcus's offer, thought about how easy it would be to just convince Ava to go back, to end this nightmare before it got worse. But every time he started to form the words, he thought about Claire in the hospital, about his sister running 3 times before she finally got free, about what it meant to give up when giving up meant someone else got hurt. We're not taking his deal, Logan said finally. Logan, I know what you're going to say, that it's the smart move, that it protects Mia. But it doesn't. Because if we give in now, Marcus learns he can threaten anyone around you and get what he wants. And next time, it won't be me. It'll be someone else. Someone who might not make it out. Ava looked at him for a long moment. You're stubborn. Yeah, I've been told. It's going to cost you. Maybe, but at least I'll be able to look Mia in the eye and tell her I did the right thing. Ava's expression softened. She's lucky to have you. Tell that to the judge. Thursday brought rain and a phone call from Chen. Logan answered on the first ring. I need you and Ava at my office in an hour, Chen said. No preamble. We've got a problem. They drove through the rain in silence. When they arrived, Chen was waiting with printouts spread across his desk. He looked tired, his tie loosened, his glasses smudged. The audit results came back, he said. Marcus was right. There are irregularities. Ava leaned forward. What kind? Transfers from the operating account to a personal account registered in your name. Small amounts at first, a few thousand here and there. But over the past 6 months, it adds up to almost $200,000. I didn't make those transfers. I believe you. But the forensic accountants don't. The account is in your name. The transfers were authorized with your credentials, and the money went to expenses that can't be traced back to legitimate business use. Logan crossed his arms. So Marcus set up a fake account, made it look like Ava's, and transferred company money into it. That's my theory, but proving it is another matter. The account was opened with Ava's information, social security number, driver's license, everything. Either Marcus had access to her personal documents, or he had help from someone inside the company. Who? Ava asked. I don't know yet, but we need to find out, fast, because the judge is going to see these results tomorrow. And unless we have something concrete to counter them, she's going to rule against you. Ava stood up, pacing the small office. What about the hard drive? The recordings? They help establish a pattern of control, but they don't directly refute the financial evidence. We need to show that Marcus had the means and opportunity to set up that account. and we need to do it in the next 24 hours. Logan looked at Ava. Who in the company would have had access to your personal information? HR, my assistant, Marcus. Ava stopped pacing. And the CFO, Thomas Grant. He's been with the company since the beginning. Marcus brought him in. You trust him? I did. But if Marcus has been planning this for months, if he's been positioning himself to take over, Thomas would be the logical person to help him. Chen scribbled something on his notepad. Can you get me his contact information? I can do better than that. I can go talk to him. No, Logan said immediately. That's too risky. If Thomas is working with Marcus, then I need to know. And the only way to find out is to ask him directly. Ava turned to Chen. Can you get me a warrant for his financial records? Not without probable cause, and we don't have that yet. Then I'll get it. Logan shook his head. Ava, this is insane. You can't just walk in and accuse your CFO of fraud. I'm not going to accuse him. I'm going to give him a chance to come clean. Ava grabbed her jacket. If Thomas helped Marcus, he's covering his own tracks too. And if I can make him believe that Marcus is going to throw him under the bus, he might give me what I need. Chen looked skeptical. That's a big if. It's the only play we have. Logan stood. Then I'm coming with you. No, you have Mia to think about. You can't afford to get pulled deeper into this. I'm already in this, and you're not doing this alone. They stared at each other, neither willing to back down. Finally, Chen cleared his throat. If you're going to do this, do it smart. Go during business hours, public place, and record everything. Ava nodded. Agreed. Thomas Grant's office was in a building downtown, sleek and modern, the kind of place that screamed success. Logan and Ava walked in just after lunch, signing in at the front desk like they belonged there. The receptionist didn't question them. They took the elevator to the 8th floor. Thomas's office was at the end of a long hallway, his name on a brass plate beside the door. Ava knocked. A voice called out, "Come in." Thomas was younger than Logan expected, mid-40s, wearing a tailored shirt with the sleeves rolled up, his dark hair graying at the temples. He looked up from his computer, and his expression shifted from confusion to surprise when he saw Ava. Ava, I didn't know you were coming. I didn't make an appointment. Thomas stood, glancing at Logan. And who's this? A friend. Ava closed the door behind them. We need to talk. Thomas's smile faded. About what? About the audit, and the account Marcus set up in my name. The color drained from Thomas's face. He sat back down slowly, his hands gripping the armrests of his chair. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Ava moved closer, her voice calm but sharp. Marcus restructured the financial account 6 months ago. You signed off on it. And somewhere in that process, an account was opened in my name that I never authorized. Money's been going into it. Small amounts. Untraceable expenses. And now the audit makes me look like I've been embezzling from my own company. Thomas said nothing, but his jaw tightened and Logan saw the guilt written all over his face. You helped him, Ava said. Didn't you? I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. Thomas looked at her, and for the first time Logan saw real fear in his eyes. You don't understand what Marcus is like, what he's capable of. Actually, I do. Better than you think. But here's the thing, Thomas. Marcus is going to lose. The restraining order's in place. The judge is reviewing everything. And when it all comes out, Marcus is going to need someone to take the fall. And that someone is going to be you. Thomas's hands were shaking. He said it was temporary. That he just needed leverage in case you tried to leave. I didn't think... You didn't think I'd actually leave? Or that I'd fight back? Ava leaned on the desk. But I did. And now you're caught in the middle. So you have two options. You can go down with Marcus, or you can help me. If I help you, he'll destroy me. If you don't, I will. They stared at each other. Logan stayed by the door, watching, his hand in his pocket where his phone was still recording. After what felt like an eternity, Thomas let out a shaky breath. What do you need? He asked. Everything. The authorization forms for that account. The records showing Marcus's access. Any emails, any communications that prove he orchestrated this. That's all on the company's server. If I pull it, Marcus will know. Then pull it fast, before he can stop you. Thomas hesitated. Then he opened his laptop and started typing. His fingers moved quickly, pulling up files, copying them to a drive. Logan watched the clock on the wall. 5 minutes. 10. 15. Finally, Thomas unplugged the drive and held it out to Ava. "This is everything I have. But Ava, if Marcus finds out I gave you this, he won't. Not from me." Ava took the drive. "But you need to leave. Today. Go somewhere he can't find you. And when this is over, you come back and testify." Thomas nodded, his face pale. "I'm sorry. For all of it. Save it. Just do the right thing now." They left the office, moving quickly through the hallway, down the elevator, out into the cold afternoon air. Logan didn't speak until they were in the truck, doors locked, pulling away from the building. "You think he'll run?" Logan asked. "I think he's terrified enough to try." Ava clutched the drive. "But it doesn't matter. We have what we need." They drove straight to Chen's office. He took the drive, plugged it into his computer, and started scanning the files. His expression shifted from skeptical to focused to something that looked almost like satisfaction. "This is good," he said. "Really good. Authorization forms signed by Marcus. Emails between him and Thomas about setting up a discretionary account. And here," he clicked on a file. "A memo from Marcus instructing Thomas to use Ava's information to open the account for what he called strategic flexibility." "Is that enough?" Ava asked. "It's enough to prove Marcus orchestrated the fraud. Whether it's enough to clear you completely depends on how the judge interprets it. But it's a hell of a lot better than what we had this morning." Logan felt something tight in his chest loosen. Not much, but enough to breathe. "Can you get this to the judge before the ruling tomorrow?" he asked. "I'll file an emergency motion tonight. If she agrees to review it, we might have a shot." Ava sat down, her hand shaking slightly. "And if she doesn't? Then we go to trial, and we fight." That night, Logan couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through every possible outcome. The judge could rule in Ava's favor, or she could decide the evidence was too circumstantial. The custody decision could go either way. By this time tomorrow, he could have Mia, or he could lose her. And there was nothing he could do but wait. Downstairs, he heard movement. He got up, pulled on a shirt, and found Ava in the kitchen, making tea she probably wouldn't drink. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "Not even close." Logan leaned against the counter. "You did good today. With Thomas. I backed him into a corner. That's not the same as doing good. He made his choice. You just gave him a way out." Ava wrapped her hands around the mug. "What if it's not enough? What if Marcus finds a way around this too? Then we keep fighting." "I'm tired of fighting." Logan moved to the table and sat down. "Yeah, me too." They sat in silence for a while, the house creaking around them, the world outside dark and quiet. Finally, Ava said, "When this is over, when the judge makes her ruling and the dust settles, I'm leaving." Logan looked at her. "Leaving where?" "Here. Your house. Your life. I can't keep doing this to you." "You're not." "I am. Rachel was right. Mia shouldn't have to deal with this, and you shouldn't have to choose between helping me and keeping your daughter." Logan shook his head. "It's not about choosing. It's about doing what's right. And what if doing what's right costs you everything?" "Then at least I tried." Ava looked at him, and something in her expression cracked. "You're a better person than I am." "I doubt that." "I don't." She set down her mug. "When I first came here, I thought you were just, I don't know, someone decent, someone who made a rash decision to help a stranger. But you're not. You're someone who sees a problem and refuses to walk away, even when you should, even when it hurts." Logan didn't know what to say to that, so he just said, "Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be long." Ava nodded, but neither of them moved. They just sat there in the quiet, two people who'd stumbled into each other's lives by accident and were now waiting to see what the fallout would be. Friday came with clear skies and cold wind. Logan dropped Mia at school, kissed her forehead, and told her he loved her. She asked if he was okay, and he lied and said yes. Then he drove to the courthouse, his hand steady on the wheel even though his heart was hammering. Chen was waiting outside with Ava. He looked tired but alert, a thick folder under his arm. "The judge agreed to review the new evidence," he said. "She's pushing the ruling back to this afternoon, 3 o'clock. Logan checked his watch. It was barely 9. So we wait. So we wait. They went inside. Marcus was already there, sitting with his lawyer, looking calm and composed as always. But when he saw the folder in Chen's hands, something flickered in his expression. Not fear, but maybe the beginning of it. The hearing reconvened at 10. Chen presented the new evidence, the authorization forms, the emails, Thomas's testimony via affidavit. Marcus's lawyer objected, argued that Thomas was unreliable, that the evidence was circumstantial. But Chen was ready. He laid it out piece by piece, showing how Marcus had systematically positioned himself to take control of Ava's company, how he'd manipulated the finances, how he'd set her up to look guilty. The judge listened, asked questions, and when it was over, she said, "I'll review the materials and issue my ruling at 3. In the meantime, Mr. Hale, I suggest you consult with your attorney about potential criminal charges." Marcus's expression didn't change, but his lawyer leaned over, whispering urgently. Logan allowed himself a moment of hope. They left the courtroom and spent the next few hours in a coffee shop across the street. Ava stared at her phone. Chen reviewed his notes. Logan watched the clock and tried not to think about what would happen if this all fell apart. At 2:30, they walked back to the courthouse. The hallways were crowded now, people coming and going, lawyers with briefcases, families waiting for hearings. Logan found a bench and sat, his leg bouncing nervously. At 2:55, a bailiff called them back into the courtroom. Logan's heart was in his throat as they filed in. Marcus was already seated, his face unreadable. The judge entered, took her seat, and looked at the assembled group. "I've reviewed the evidence," she said, "and I'm making my ruling permanent. The restraining order against Mr. Hale will remain in effect indefinitely. Additionally, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney's office for investigation into potential fraud and embezzlement charges against Mr. Hale, not Ms. Carter." Logan felt the air leave his lungs. Beside him, Ava's hands were shaking. The judge continued. "As for the financial accounts, they are to be unfrozen and returned to Ms. Carter's control, pending a full board review. Mr. Hale, you are to have no further involvement in Carter Dynamics or any of its subsidiaries. Do you understand?" Marcus stood slowly. For the first time since Logan had met him, he looked genuinely rattled. "Yes, Your Honor." "Good. Court is adjourned." The gavel came down, and just like that, it was over. Outside, Ava stood on the courthouse steps, staring at the street like she couldn't quite process what had just happened. Chen was talking to her, saying something about next steps and board meetings and rebuilding, but Logan could see she wasn't really listening. He waited until Chen left, then walked over. "You okay?" he asked. Ava looked at him, and for the first time since that night on his porch, she smiled. Not small. Not careful. Just real. "I think so," she said. "I think I actually am." Logan smiled back. "Good. You earned it." They stood there for a moment, the wind pulling at their clothes, the city moving around them. Then Logan's phone buzzed. A text from Rachel's lawyer. "Judge issued ruling. Joint custody maintained. Details to follow." Logan read it twice, then showed it to Ava. She read it, then looked at him. "You won," she said. "We both did." Ava's smile widened. "Yeah, I guess we did." They started walking toward the parking lot, and for the first time in weeks, Logan felt like he could breathe. The fight wasn't over. There would be more hearings, more paperwork, more struggles to rebuild what had been broken. But they'd made it through the worst, and that was enough for now. At the truck, Ava stopped. "Logan?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for everything." "You don't have to—" "I do. Because you didn't have to help me. But you did, and I'm not going to forget that." Logan nodded. "What are you going to do now?" "I'm going to take back my company, the right way this time, and then, I don't know, figure out what comes next." She paused. "What about you?" "I'm going to pick up my daughter from school, take her for ice cream, and try to remember what normal feels like." Ava laughed, quiet and genuine. "That sounds perfect." They got in the truck and drove back through the city, the afternoon light turning everything gold. And for the first time since this whole thing started, Logan let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. But normal, as it turned out, was harder to find than Logan expected. The weekend after the ruling came with a relief that felt almost physical, like someone had lifted a weight off his chest that he'd been carrying for so long he'd forgotten it was there. He picked Mia up from school on Friday, took her for ice cream like he'd promised, and watched her order the biggest sundae on the menu with extra sprinkles. She ate half of it, got chocolate on her nose, and told him about a boy in her class who'd brought a frog to school in his backpack. Was the teacher mad? Logan asked. Super mad, but the frog was really cool. Logan smiled, and for a moment everything felt simple again. Just him and his daughter eating ice cream, talking about frogs. No lawyers, no threats. No strangers on the porch in the rain. But when they got home, Ava's car was still in the driveway. She'd said she was leaving, that she needed to give him and Mia space. But she was still there, sitting on the porch with her phone, looking like she didn't know where else to go. Mia ran up to her. "Did you get ice cream too?" Ava looked up, startled. "No, I didn't." "You should. Dad took me to the place with the big cones. They have mint chocolate chip." "That sounds good." Mia went inside and Logan climbed the porch steps. Ava stood, brushing off her jeans. "I thought you were leaving," he said. "I was. I am. She stopped, looking at the street. "I called a realtor, found a place downtown. I'm supposed to sign the lease tomorrow." "That's good." "Yeah." She didn't sound convinced. Logan leaned against the railing. "So why are you still here?" Ava was quiet for a moment. "Because I don't know where else to be. My apartment, the one I shared with Marcus. I can't go back there. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And the office feels wrong, like I'm walking into someone else's life." "It's your life. You fought for it." "I know, but it doesn't feel like mine anymore. It feels like something I have to rebuild from scratch. And I don't know if I'm strong enough to do that." Logan crossed his arms. "You stood up to Marcus. You testified. You won. You're stronger than you think." Or I just got lucky. If Thomas hadn't cracked, if the judge hadn't agreed to review the evidence, but he did, and she did, and you're here. Logan pushed off the railing. "Look, I get it. You've been fighting for so long that you forgot what it feels like to just exist. But you don't have to figure it all out tonight. Take your time. Find your footing, and stop acting like you owe anyone an explanation for needing space to breathe." Ava looked at him, and something in her expression softened. "You're good at this." "At what?" "Saying the thing people need to hear. I'm just saying what is true." She smiled, small but real. "Thank you for letting me stay as long as I have." "You're welcome. But Ava, you don't have to leave tomorrow if you're not ready. The guest room's still there, door's still open." Ava shook her head. "You've done enough, more than enough, and Mia needs her life back. She needs you to herself for a while." Logan wanted to argue, but he also knew she was right. Mia had been patient, adaptable, more understanding than most kids her age would have been. But she deserved stability, routine. A house that felt like home instead of a halfway point between crises. "Okay," Logan said, "but if you need anything, I'll call, I promise." They stood there for a moment, the afternoon light fading into evening, and Logan realized how strange it was going to feel when she was gone. He'd gotten used to her presence, to the sound of her moving around the house, to the way she drank coffee but never finished it. It wasn't romantic, it had never been that. But it was something. A connection forged in crisis, tested by fire, and somehow still standing. The next morning, Ava packed her things. It didn't take long. She'd arrived with almost nothing, and she was leaving with only slightly more. Logan helped her load the car, and Mia watched from the porch, her rabbit tucked under her arm. When everything was loaded, Ava knelt down in front of Mia. "You take care of your dad, okay?" Ava said. "I always do," Mia said seriously. "I know, you're good at it." Ava smiled. "And thank you for sharing your house with me." "You're welcome. Will you come back and visit?" Ava glanced at Logan, then back at Mia. "Maybe, if your dad says it's okay." "It's okay," Logan said. Mia grinned. "Then you have to come back." Ava stood, and for a moment Logan thought she might say something, but she just nodded, got in her car, and drove away. Logan and Mia stood on the porch, watching until the car disappeared around the corner. "Is she going to be okay?" Mia asked. "Yeah," Logan said. "I think she is." "Bullshit, boy. The weeks that followed were strange in their ordinariness. Logan went back to work, framing houses and fixing mistakes, and trying to remember what life had been like before that stormy night. Mia went to school, came home, did her homework at the kitchen table while Logan made dinner. They fell back into routines that felt both familiar and foreign, like putting on an old jacket that didn't quite fit anymore. Rachel called once to finalize the custody arrangement. Joint custody, alternating weeks, holidays split evenly. It wasn't perfect, but it was fair. And for the first time in months, Rachel's voice didn't carry the edge of anger it usually did. "You did good," she said at the end of the call. "With everything. I didn't think you would. But you did." Logan didn't know what to say to that, so he just said, "Thanks. Take care of her, Logan." "I always do." Rachel hung up, and Logan stood there with the phone in his hand, feeling something close to peace. It wasn't closure. There was too much history between them for that. But it was acceptance. And that was enough. 2 weeks after Ava left, Logan got a call from an unknown number. He almost didn't answer, conditioned by too many calls from Marcus or lawyers or people who wanted something he couldn't give. But something made him pick up. "Mr. Hayes?" A woman's voice, professional but warm. "Yeah. My name is Sarah Lynn. I'm the new head of HR at Carter Dynamics. Ava Carter asked me to reach out to you." Logan frowned. "Why?" "Because she'd like to offer you a job." Logan almost laughed. "I'm a carpenter. I don't know anything about running a company." "She's not asking you to run the company. She's asking you to join our facilities management team. We're expanding, and we need someone who understands construction, maintenance, project oversight, someone reliable. Ava said you fit the description." Logan sat down at the kitchen table. "She said that?" "She said a lot more than that. But yes." Sarah paused. "The position comes with better pay than what you're making now, benefits, stability. And if you're interested, we can set up an interview next week." Logan thought about the job site he'd been working, the project manager who changed his mind daily, the weather that made every day a gamble, the paycheck that barely covered rent and groceries and Mia's school expenses. "What's the catch?" he asked. "No catch. Just a job offer. From someone who wants to give you the same chance you gave her." Logan closed his eyes. "I'll think about it. Take your time." "But Mr. Hayes, Ava doesn't make offers like this lightly. If she's reaching out, it's because she believes in you." Sarah hung up. Logan sat there for a long time, staring at his phone, trying to process what had just happened. A job offer. From Ava. After everything they'd been through, after she'd walked away to give him space, she was still thinking about him, still trying to help. He didn't know what to do with that. That night, after Mia was asleep, Logan called Ava. She answered on the second ring. "Hey," she said. "Hey, I got a call from Sarah Lynn." "I know. I asked her to reach out." "Why?" Ava was quiet for a moment. "Because you helped me when you didn't have to, and because you're good at what you do, and because I wanted to give you an opportunity that didn't come with strings or expectations. Just a job, if you want it." "Ava, you don't have to take it, Logan. I'm not trying to repay a debt or make things even. I just thought, I don't know, I thought maybe you could use something stable, something that didn't involve 12-hour shifts in the rain." Logan leaned back in his chair. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to. Is that okay?" "Yeah, it's okay." He paused. "I'll think about it." "Good. And Logan, thank you for answering." They talked for a while after that. Not about the job, not about Marcus or the trial or the custody hearing, just small things, how Mia was doing in school, how Ava's first board meeting had gone. How strange it felt to walk into her office and not feel like she was waiting for something bad to happen. "It's getting easier," Ava said. "Slowly, but it is." "That's good. What about you? Is it getting easier?" Logan thought about that. "Yeah, I think so." When they hung up, Logan felt something shift inside him. Not relief exactly, more like recognition. That sometimes the people who came into your life during the worst moments weren't just there for the crisis. Sometimes they stayed. Not in the same way, not in the same space, but in the choices they made, in the doors they opened, in the quiet ways they kept showing up even when they didn't have to. Logan took the job. He gave his 2 weeks' notice at the construction site, endured his project manager's irritated lecture about loyalty, and started at Carter Dynamics the first week of December. The work was different, more oversight than hands-on labor, more coordination than sweat. But it was good, stable. And for the first time in years, Logan felt like he was building something that might last, Ava kept her distance at first. Professional, polite. She'd stop by the facilities office to check on projects, ask questions, make sure everything was running smoothly. But she never lingered, never crossed the line between boss and something more complicated. But one afternoon in mid-December, she showed up at his office with 2 cups of coffee and a folder full of blueprints. "Got a minute?" she asked. "Sure." She sat down across from his desk and spread out the blueprints. "We're renovating the 5th floor. New conference rooms, updated offices. I wanted your opinion on the layout." Logan studied the plans. They were good, functional, efficient. But there were a few places where the design didn't account for load-bearing walls or electrical routing. He pointed them out, and Ava made notes, nodding. "This is why I hired you," she said. "Because I know where the walls are? Because you see problems before they happen. And because you're honest." She looked up at him. "That's rarer than you think." Logan set down his pen. "How are you doing? Really?" Ava leaned back in her chair. "Better." The board voted to officially remove Marcus from all positions. He's fighting it, but his lawyer knows it's a losing battle. And the DA is building a case. It's going to take time, but they think they have enough to file charges. That's good. It is, but it's also exhausting. Every day feels like I'm cleaning up a mess I didn't make, and I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Marcus to find some new way to hurt me. He won't. He's done. You sound sure. I am, because he lost his power, and without that he's just a guy with a grudge and no way to act on it. Ava smiled, tired but genuine. I hope you're right. They talked for a while longer, and when Ava left, Logan felt that same shift again. That recognition that some connections didn't fade just because the crisis ended. They evolved, found new shapes, became something quieter, but no less real. Christmas came, and Logan spent it with Mia. They decorated the tree together, made cookies that turned out lopsided, watched old movies on the couch. Rachel had Mia for Christmas Eve, and Logan had her for Christmas Day, and for the first time in years, the handoff didn't feel like a battle. Just 2 parents trying to do right by their kid. On New Year's Eve, Logan got a text from Ava. "Throwing a small party for the team. You should come, if you want." Logan stared at the message for a long time. He hadn't been to a party in years, hadn't wanted to. But something about the invitation, the casualness of it, the lack of pressure, made him think maybe it was time to start saying yes to things again. He dropped Mia off at Rachel's, drove to the address Ava had sent, and found himself standing outside a renovated loft downtown. Music filtered through the windows, and through the glass he could see people laughing, talking, holding drinks. For a moment he almost turned around, but then the door opened and Ava was standing there, smiling. "You came," she said. "Yeah, I did. Come on, I'll introduce you to people." The party was smaller than Logan expected, maybe 20 people, most of them from the company. Ava introduced him to department heads, engineers, the new CFO who'd replaced Thomas. Everyone was friendly, curious, asking him about his work and his daughter and how he liked the company so far. Logan answered, made small talk, and found that it wasn't as hard as he'd thought it would be. Around 11, he found Ava on the balcony, standing alone, looking out at the city. He joined her, leaning against the railing. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah, just needed a minute." "It's a good party." "Thanks. I wasn't sure anyone would show. I'm still getting used to the idea that people actually want to work here again." She glanced at him. "What about you? Having a good time?" "Surprisingly, yeah." Ava smiled. "Good. You deserve it." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, the city lights stretching out below them, the sound of the party muted behind the glass. Then Ava said, "I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "About what you said, that night in your kitchen, about how I needed to stop letting Marcus control me, even from a distance." "I remember. You were right. He had power because I was afraid. And I let that fear dictate everything I did, every choice I made, every risk I didn't take." She looked at him. "But you didn't. You took the risk, even when it could have cost you everything, and that's what made the difference." Logan shook his head. "I just did what needed doing." "No, you did what most people wouldn't, and I'm never going to forget that." Logan didn't know what to say, so he just nodded, and they stood there together, watching the city, waiting for midnight. When the countdown started inside, they went back in. Everyone gathered, counting down, and when the clock struck 12, the room erupted in cheers. People hugged, clinked glasses, made toast to the new year. Ava raised her glass and Logan raised his, and they drank to new beginnings. Later, as people started to leave, Logan found Ava by the door, saying goodbye to guests. When the last person left, she turned to him. "Thanks for coming," she said. "Thanks for inviting me." "I mean it, Logan. I know this year was—" She paused, searching for the word. "Hard, for both of us. But I'm glad you were part of it." "Me too." Ava smiled. "Happy New Year." "Happy New Year." Logan left, drove home through empty streets, and found himself thinking about everything that had happened. The storm, the fear, the fights. The moments when it felt like everything was falling apart, and the moments when it didn't. When it felt like maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. Spring came slowly. The snow melted, the trees started to bud, and Logan settled into his new job with a rhythm that felt almost easy. Mia thrived in the stability. Better grades, more friends, fewer questions about why mom and dad couldn't just get along. Rachel even called once to say she was proud of him, which might have been the strangest moment of the entire year. Ava rebuilt her company piece by piece. The board supported her. The employees stayed. And slowly, Carter Dynamics became what it was always supposed to be. A business built on integrity instead of control, on collaboration instead of fear. Marcus fought the charges, but the evidence was overwhelming. By April, he'd accepted a plea deal, 5 years, eligible for parole after 3. Ava didn't go to the sentencing. She didn't need to. The closure she needed wasn't in watching him lose. It was in realizing she didn't need to watch at all. One afternoon in May, Logan was reviewing renovation plans when Ava knocked on his office door. "Got a minute?" she asked. "Always." She sat down, and Logan could tell something was different. She looked lighter, somehow. Less like someone carrying the weight of the world, and more like someone who'd finally set it down. "I wanted to tell you something," she said. "Okay. I'm stepping back from the CEO role. Not permanently, but for a while. I'm promoting Sarah to interim CEO while I take some time to figure out what I actually want." Logan raised his eyebrows. "That's big." "It is. But I've spent the last 10 years building this company, and I realized I don't know who I am outside of it. I don't know what I like, what I want, what makes me happy beyond quarterly earnings and board meetings." She smiled. "So I'm taking 6 months, traveling, volunteering, maybe writing. I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." "That sounds good, really good." "I think so too." She paused. "And I wanted to thank you, again, for everything." "You already did. I know. But I'm doing it again. Because you didn't just help me escape Marcus. You showed me what it looks like to live with integrity, to make hard choices because they're right, not because they're easy. And that's something I'm going to carry with me, wherever I go." Logan felt his throat tighten. "You're going to be fine, Ava. Better than fine." "I hope so." She stood. "Take care of yourself, Logan, and take care of Mia. She's lucky to have you." "Thanks. And Ava, whatever you find out there, whatever you decide you want, I hope you get it." She smiled, and it was the kind of smile that said more than words could. Then she left, and Logan sat there for a long time, staring at the empty doorway, feeling something close to pride. Summer came, and with it, a rhythm that felt like peace. Logan took Mia camping, taught her how to fish, watched her catch her first trout and squeal with delight. He fixed up the house, planted a garden, learned how to cook something other than mac and cheese. He called his sister for the first time in 2 years, and they talked for hours, rebuilding something that had been broken for too long. Ava sent postcards from places Logan had never been. Italy, Japan, New Zealand. Each one had a short message. Nothing profound, just updates on where she was and what she was seeing. Logan kept them on his fridge, a reminder that sometimes the best thing you could do for someone was let them go find themselves. In August, Ava came back. She stopped by the office unannounced, tanned and smiling, looking more like herself than Logan had ever seen her. "Hey," she said. "Hey, you're back." "I am, for now. Sarah's doing great, so I'm taking my time figuring out what's next." "Good for you." They talked for a while, catching up, filling in the gaps the postcards had left. And when Ava left, she hugged him. Quick, genuine. The kind of hug that said thank you and goodbye and see you around all at once. Logan watched her go, and he realized that some people came into your life for a reason. Not to stay forever, not to fill a void, but to remind you of something you'd forgotten, that you were capable of more than you thought, that kindness mattered, that standing up for someone, even when it cost you, was worth it. Ava had reminded him of that, and in return, he'd reminded her that she was stronger than the man who'd tried to control her, that she could rebuild, that she could be free. That night, Logan sat on his porch with a beer, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Mia was inside doing homework, humming to herself. The house was quiet, peaceful. And for the first time in a long time, Logan felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. He thought about that stormy night, about the woman standing on his porch, scared and soaked and desperate. He thought about the choice he'd made to open the door, and he realized that it hadn't been reckless or impulsive or foolish. It had been human. The kind of choice that reminded you why connection mattered, why standing up for people mattered, why refusing to look away when someone needed help was the only way to live a life that meant something. The storm had passed. The fight was over. And what remained was this: a quiet evening, a daughter doing homework, a life rebuilt from the wreckage. It wasn't perfect. It was messy and complicated and still required work every single day, but it was real. And it was his. Logan took a sip of his beer, leaned back in his chair, and let himself breathe. Because sometimes the greatest victories weren't the ones that came with applause or recognition. They were the ones that came with peace, with the knowledge that you'd done the right thing, even when it was hard, that you'd stood up when it mattered, that you'd helped someone find their way back to themselves. And in the process, you'd found your way back too. The sky darkened, stars beginning to appear, and Logan stayed on the porch a little longer, thinking about storms and strangers, and the doors we choose to open, about the people who walk through them and change everything, about the courage it takes to let them in and the grace it takes to let them go. Mia called from inside, asking if he wanted to watch a movie. Logan finished his beer, stood up, and went inside. Because life wasn't about the big moments. It was about the small ones, the homework and the movies and the dinners at the kitchen table, the ordinary days that added up to something extraordinary if you paid attention. And Logan was paying attention now, to every moment, every choice, every chance to be the kind of person his daughter could be proud of, the kind of person he could be proud of, because in the end, that was all that mattered. Not the storms you survived, but the person you became because of them.